listening to Live the Dream Media, exclusively on the Live the Dream Media Network.
Thank you for tuning in to the Live the Dream Media Network. Our featured broadcast will begin shortly.
Can't look at me straight. I step up closer to the edge of her waist. Palms sweat, can't wait. She leans into me. Oh yeah. I grant her a dream, 'cause I'm a lover boy at heart. I'm a lover boy at heart. And an attitude change. Stands up tall with the wind in her face, saying boyfriend that way. She leans into me. Oh yeah. I say I'm on the speed, 'cause I'm a lover boy at heart, yeah. I'm a lover boy at heart.
You've got a voice, but are you ready for a global audience? Don't just settle for standard studio rental. At Live the Dream Media, we amplify your voice by broadcasting your podcast completely live on our exclusive online radio network. Whether they're down the street or across the world, your listeners can lock in live on YouTube, Meta, and the Live the Dream Media app. Why choose live? Because real-time connection builds a loyal community, extends your reach further than ever, and turns a simple recording into a massive digital event. Stop waiting on the edit. Go live, build your crowd, and live the dream with Live the Dream Media today.
Radio evolves more as the years progress, and it is only becoming better. Introducing the Live the Dream Media app. Catch your favorite music 24/7 and tune into live podcasts, or catch up on your own time with our on-demand library. No matter where you travel in the world, you can be anywhere on the planet and stay connected. Download the Live the Dream Media app for free today on the Apple App Store and Google Play, and experience radio reimagined.
The views and opinions expressed on this program belong solely to the hosts and guests, not the opinions of Live the Dream Media. The content provided on this show is for entertainment and informational purposes only.
Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome to Sobriety, Spirituality, and Sales. Tony, what are we on? Episode 37? 37, baby. All right. So, show is brought to you by Michael Bader, State Farm Agency, First and River Road. If you are in the market for insurance, please hit up Mike and the ladies in his office. If you're tuning in today, if you've tuned in before, and you know alcohol is running your life and you want to find out who you truly are on the other side of that, please reach out to my website that's running below. Without any further ado, Gio, welcome to the show. Gio Bartolomeo.
Great to see you here. Great to be here. Appreciate the opportunity to come and share with you guys.
Dude, I'm stoked, man. I'm so excited. And my brother brought it to my attention that we have a cousin. His name was Bartolomeo. So basically, Bartolomeo is the Italian version of that, correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So maybe there's a relation down the road there. Who knows?
Maybe.
Well, welcome, man. I'm so stoked to have you here. The show is Sobriety, Spirituality, and Sales. The premise of the show is, for me personally, my business became a lot more consistent in sales once I developed just a great spiritual foundation. Once I developed a recovery journey that I had started, darn near 8 years ago. And, when we met in Guatemala, for the audience that doesn't know, I mean, you've been doing elemental rhythm for how many years now?
I started my breathwork journey back in probably 2015. I found it, and then started my own kind of thing. Probably like 2018, it started becoming the elemental rhythm kind of brand. So that's probably 8 years now of elemental rhythm, about over 10 years in the breathwork space.
Okay. And so you've been on this path for, well over 10 years now. We had an opportunity to meet in Guatemala. Go ahead.
Yeah. My journey of transformation started before I found breathwork. I was seeking for answers and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been on this path for a while. And the more I look back, it had different, camouflage where I was kind of going through a transformation, just didn't know it yet. Things were happening in my life that I couldn't understand. And, I felt, looking back now, I can see there was more of a spiritual calling underneath all of it that was realigning me onto the path I was supposed to be on. And we can chat about that more, but yeah, Guatemala, we met, I shared breathwork, met you there.
Well, not only that, you shared a little bit about your journey, and I apologize for the breathwork journey, but no, you've been on the spiritual path for, a decade plus then. And so, what you shared really resonated with me, where you were in this, material 3D world, working your butt off, and the validation that money, meant to you and to your family, and how you finally separated from that. And you've just developed this wonderful, abundant life, getting free from the matrix, as I like to call it.
Yeah. I can go into that more if you want, or,
yeah, man.
where do you want to start?
We're here to learn from you, man. So wherever you want to start.
Yeah, I can just share a bit about what led me here. I grew up in, probably middle class, and it was, I was taught growing up that money, being successful, was the most important thing. Net worth and self worth was the same. So in order to be happy, to be liked, to have a good life, I had to make money. And I went to business school, did all the things, and was just working my butt off, became an entrepreneur. I started realizing that, I was in accounting, which wasn't for me, but started realizing that the guys who were making all the money were the guys in sales. So I was like, okay, let me give a shot at sales, which kind of sparked my entrepreneurial journey. And, slugging it out for probably 5 or 6 years, knocking on doors, and I was selling frozen desserts at the time, food products. And I pretty much, with a lot of certainty, as an independent salesperson, probably one of the top cannoli salesmen in North America at one point. And we sold a lot of cannoli. You don't make a ton of money on cannolis, but
yeah.
I was making some money finally. And, I had the mortgage, but I finally had a nice car, and, going on vacation, and like all the things. And I was working a lot, and I didn't feel any different. I just felt this emptiness. Like, I should be happier. I should be more content. I should be more fulfilled. And I recognized that I didn't feel that way. Just small win is like on to the next. This pursuit of this endless desire for more, this endless desire for more. And it was, when would be enough? And I started questioning, I was lucky, because I was able to kind of catch that something was wrong, where I've noticed a lot of people that I work with now that are super successful entrepreneurs can never stop. They can never, pull back a little bit. And it's something that's glorified a lot in Western society, that, making money is good, but at what cost? Like there is a cost in in that pursuit of overworking, And so, I was burnt out, stressed, and, just was asking the questions. And this is one of my first, I guess, spiritual experiences. One afternoon, I was sitting by the edge of my bed, and I think I was having a nap on a Saturday, which was rare. So I was kind of like in and out of sleep, dreaming a little bit. And, was just contemplating what I was feeling. And this voice was like, Gio, you're a smart guy. You figured out how to make a little bit of money, and, you're going to go on your one vacation every year, and, do this same thing over and over and over again for the next, 30, 40, 50, however many years you're here. And you're going to, be an old man at the same edge of the same bed. You look at your life and you're going to think like, was that it? Was that what I was here to do? Was that the meaning of my life? And in that moment, although, I was happy for success I had, it just felt pointless, like pointless, completely pointless. And what I recognized in that moment, I didn't understand it till later, but what I was feeling was unfulfillment and lack of purpose. I was just lost. I was doing everything everyone told me to do, but I never thought about like what really lights me up, what really gives me joy and happiness, what's my purpose and passion. And so right after that, I was like, okay, as an entrepreneur, we're good at solving problems. And I lived in my mind for the first probably 25 years of my life, smart, but like just over analyzing everything. I think I'm going to figure this out. So I quickly go to Google, and we didn't have ChatGPT or anything like that. Yeah, it would probably give me a better answer. But, what is the purpose of life? Typing it in as if it was going to give me, some sort of answer. And it didn't. But, I started finding YouTube videos and started reading books on different philosophy, Stoic philosophy, read about, Hinduism, Buddhism, got into Christianity, searching for answers there, in the Bible, and was starting to understand intellectually some of the things that they were trying to say, but there was no embodiment. Like I wasn't really understanding at a deeper level. And then I went to Costa Rica, and I found something called plant medicine. It's not for everyone. I know in the recovery, it's kind of like a very taboo topic, and some people don't want to touch it, but I've seen a lot of people in recovery go there and have amazing results. So, something that, this is with a grain of salt. It's not for everyone, but for me, it helped me to see things that I couldn't see before. And the first thing that it showed me was like, I knew nothing about anything. It was like this big kind of humbling, like you think you're so smart, you're focusing on this one thing that you think life is all about, but really there's so much more to it. And first you got to start understanding yourself. There's no one out there that's going to tell you what to do unless you start looking inwards. And so, what do you do with that? So the first thing I knew that I had to do was I had to break out of the bubble I was living in. So partying on the weekends, football on Sundays, a lot of drinking, a lot of, all the stuff that goes along with partying was what I was into, especially because now that I had a little bit of money, it was easier to do the things that I couldn't do before. So I started finding other people that just had different like ways of looking at things, different teachers. I was finding myself at like yoga festivals and these workshops, and like stuff that was totally out of my comfort zone. It was very uncomfortable, but I was looking for understanding.
And something was calling you towards that, I imagine.
I realized that later, it was something internally, there was this feeling for more. It was like you might call it like a seeking, but something was not right with where I was, and something was pulling me to find out, if there was more. And yeah, for sure, it's a calling, it's a seeking. And once you start bringing more awareness to that, you start seeing it more, start hearing things more and more, you start recognizing the patterns. And not too long after that, I found a guy named Wim Hof online, and I was like, oh, this guy's interesting. And I told my wife I'm going to meet this guy one day. And my wife knows I'm crazy. She's like, yeah, okay, sure. And within like a few months, I volunteered for like this group that had a website, that had a blog, and they were doing all these like interesting stories about all kinds of spirituality and conspiracy theories. It was just like all over the map, but just fringe topics. And I started a podcast with them, way back in 2014, I think. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to reach out to Wim Hof, see if he wants to be on my podcast. This is before he was like super popular, and he hopped on, and we were talking, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. He's like, yeah, you got to come to my next workshop in LA. Knew nothing about breath work, nothing about cold exposure. So okay, this is going to be cool. I went there. It was awesome, and learned a bit about the breath work, and he was showing us his method, which helped you change your state, get out of your minds. Amazing practice, and a lot of people that were there were actually on the recovery path as well. That were getting clean and in recovery, and it was an amazing tool for them. Um, and he's like, you should do the training. So come back in 6 months. We're going to do the first one in the States, and I went to that not thinking anything of it. And the first thing that I recognized when I was there is like there's about 30 people, all different walks of life, different ages. Um, and they started sharing like, about their story. And every single person in that circle shared an amazing story of transformation. Daily breath work, going out in nature, mindful practice, just going inward, addiction, chronic illness, depression, anxiety, infertility, like overcoming things like cancer. People are sharing these stories. I'm sitting there like kind of in shock. You know what I mean? Like, how is this possible? How come no one knows about this? Why aren't more people into this kind of stuff? Because when I had a problem, I went to the doctor. There's one or two things they would tell me. They wouldn't ask me about how I was sleeping or my diet or how I breathed, or it was like, okay, here's a pill, or go see this therapist or a psychiatrist or something like that. I was like, okay, there's more out there. And we went through the whole week. And on the last day, so we did like jumping in frozen lakes and climbing up the mountain barefoot in the snow and all that crazy stuff. And, I didn't die or anything like that. And, my wife always says, just come back alive, Um, and the last day led us through this deeper breathwork practice, which was, like a 45-minute to an hour of just like deep breathing. I'd never done anything like this before. About halfway through it, I feel like a vibration moving through my body, feel like something's happening. And I'm a little bit scared, but I'm feeling safe. I trust the guy. I haven't died doing the other things. I'm breathing here, should be fine. And within a few minutes, I have this full out of body experience. I'm floating at the top of this room. I'm looking down at myself. And at first I don't realize what's going on. And then I see it like crystal clear, me there breathing and I'm up here. It was like the most bizarre experience I'd ever experienced. And I kind of got scared, like, maybe I died or something. I don't know. And it was, I snapped back into my body. I opened my eyes. It was like the first breath I ever took. It was like I was reborn. It felt like, I don't know. It's hard to explain in words. And I realize I'm here. And all of a sudden I feel this swell of emotion coming up, and for me, as I was taught, like, suck it up, be tough, men don't cry, like hold my emotions, don't share any of my problems with other people. Like I just would bear the brunt of it all. Like when financial stuff wasn't going that good, I try to like not let my wife know, like just keep it, hold it. And this moment, I felt this emotion coming up. And before I could think, Gio, don't cry in front of all these people, like it just came out. And I was bawling like a baby, like tears, booger, like just like, and at first I was trying to hold it back, but eventually just like let it go. And it was one of the most cathartic releases of my life. And in that moment, that same voice that I heard when I was sitting on the bed, it was like, like bringing my awareness to like, hey, you should be focusing on something else. It comes back. And it wasn't my regular self-talk. It wasn't like, Gio, you screwed up again. What are you doing? You're an idiot. It was like, hey, like you're doing a great job.
Wow.
Don't be so hard on yourself. Keep going. Keep following your heart. Like these really like positive. And I'm just like, who is this speaking to me?
Yeah.
Like it's this voice that's kind of feels like I'm in my mind talking, but it's coming from a different place.
Wow.
And it was just so encouraging. And it was like, you're doing a great job. Don't beat yourself up. Just keep doing your best. That's it. And I remember just like after the experience, I felt like 10 pounds lighter, like literally, like I felt this lightness and this calling, this curiosity to explore what that was just became like, okay, like whatever this is, you need to figure it out. So I went back and just started finding anyone I could learn about breath work, whether it was a yogi, whether it was someone, hippie from like this, 70s doing breath work in some weird apartment downtown Toronto. But I was just like a sponge. I just wanted to learn. And I started my own practice of exploring my breath, which I realized was a way to shut off my mind. And when I start shutting off my mind, I can think more clearly or feel more clearly or access my emotions more or my subconscious mind, or a lot of these things that were creating, I guess, this persona in me of what I thought I was supposed to be was starting to be dismantled slowly. And what I learned now in my work is like a lot of us, we identify with a version of us that we've acquired based on things that have happened to us that we're trying to be that person. Whether it's the lone wolf, the social star, the overworker, the machine, the people pleaser, like we just adapt these things. Most of us say this is who I am, but for me it was like this is who I've learned to be. And if I'm no longer that, then who am I? If I don't have to feel this urge to help everyone because I need approval or to win the competition just to feel good enough and all these things. So it was an amazing exploration that I started to realize, and using the breath as a way to access deeper parts of myself. And that's what kind of elemental rhythm came, using the breath work to get out of your mind, to kind of, the science shows that rhythmic breathing shuts off that analytical part of your mind, which is where they say the ego resides, which where all your protectors and the things that are going to keep you small or avoid things, or even like become a fighter sometimes. Like, I used to scrap a lot when I was younger. It was, I didn't want to, I was scared, but once it became my persona, it became this thing, and it wasn't me at all. And so I just started using that on myself, and I started changing, and eventually I started sharing it with others, and I saw that it was having an impact on them as well. And that was the first time I really felt what fulfillment felt like being in service to others, sharing something that can actually help someone in a meaningful way. And from there, just, it organically started growing into a company. Then people asked me if I could teach them how to do it. And, here we are, like 10 years later, I've built this amazing community. I get to travel around the world, I get to speak, I get to share. And the whole time I'm still learning about myself. It's not like you have a breakthrough and it's over. It's like there's always more to learn. And even just in the last month, I've had more realizations about, those deeper levels of what's making me tick and where I'm feeling stuck or frustrated. It's like, oh yeah, there's something in there that's actually a story about myself that is not really true. Right. So yeah, so that's the backstory. I don't know. I went on for a while there, but I wanted to give like the context of where we are, what got me to today. Um, and the most amazing thing is the people I've met. I get to connect with people like yourself, people from all different walks of life, different things that, you know, um, different ethnicities, different types of work, different things that have, that they've been working with or dealing with or challenging them, and just have the opportunity to help them. And the most beautiful thing is like, I don't got to fix anyone. I don't have the answers for anyone, but I can help them to kind of get in touch with themselves a little bit more. Right. And that's the most important thing. Because once you start understanding yourself a little bit more and you get the tools to do it, now you can go on your own journey, you know? So yeah, so that's kind of it.
I love that. No, thank you for sharing all that. And I think it's important to let people talk and express what's on their mind, because that's when the most gems of gems come out. That's so thank you for sharing all that. One thing that really stood out to me is, at the David Bayer event this past year, is you're waiting in line with all of us to go in and hear David share. David's a genius, I believe, and everything he has to share is amazing. And it really struck me because you could have stayed in your hotel room. You could have said to yourself, "Hey, I'm this breathwork facilitator. I don't need any more growth. I'm good. I'm good." But no, having that attitude of like consistently growing. And I shared about this recently, like with my personal recovery, it's like building brick by brick. Like I'm in the constant pursuit of growth. And when I'm not, I'm sliding backwards. And I want to continue to grow for the rest of my life. I want to continue to have deeper understandings, deeper realizations, and heal at a different level, because I'm sure you would agree with this too, is there's layers of healing. You'll come back to stuff that you thought you knew or understood, and you'll have deeper understandings of that. And breath is one way to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm a student, you know what I mean? Like some people look at me as a teacher, but I look at myself as like, yeah, I have some things I can share that I've learned through my own experience and through my own kind of like studies and trying to understand myself. And I love sharing it. But, I learned not only from David, but the people there, like sharing with someone beside me. There's always an opportunity to learn something, and even with the students that I have, or the people that I coach, like I'm always learning, and there's so many times like the people around you are always mirrors for you. There's always something that's like, oh, whether it's someone that triggers you or someone that says something that you've heard 100 times and they said a little bit different, and now it like lands in a different way. And David's a master at that, like he's definitely like, master of the mind kind of thing. And one of his gifts is he takes sometimes complex things and can explain them in such a really easy to understand way. And so I love learning from him and all the other people there. But also, like, I knew that I was going to do breath work on Sunday. And for me, when I'm sharing, the more I can be like connected to the group, the more I can see who's there and the kind of energy and like what's going on, the better I can deliver something that is exactly going to land with them, you know? So I was also like learning from David, but also just studying the room and just feeling into like who's there and how can I best serve, this community here, with the intention, not with the expectation. Because before I would have been like, had all this expectation on myself, this need for approval. Like, it better be good. I don't want to let David down. It better be good so that I can impress all these people. But now it's like, I just want to do the best that I can do, and that's going to be good enough. And if I do that, then it's going to serve who needs to be served. The people that are ready to receive are going to be able to receive, whatever I'm going to present, whether it's a breath work, whether it was a talk. And, it's about just being super intentional. And I've learned for a lot of my life what I was seeking approval, and when you're seeking approval, because you might not feel enough, which was something that I dealt with for a long time. Although on the outside looking in, everyone would say like, "Oh yeah, Gio's doing a great job. He's successful and blah blah blah." But when you have this underneath belief, there's no amount of external validation that can give it to you. Like give you some examples. Like Michael Jackson, the greatest performer of all time, music. Ends up dying addicted to some sort of drugs, because he still believed, he grew up and he was never good enough for his dad. And it was always more, do better, and which made him the best, but he can never reach that feeling good enough. It always had to be more. Michael Jordan, you got him on your hat, best basketball player of all time. Same thing. His dad was like super hard on him and won the championship. And, I'm sure he's doing okay now, but there's a lot of things around like gambling and, stuff like that. Tiger Woods, we all see what he's going through right now. Another example of like one of the best to ever play. And I see a lot of people in business too, where, they had to prove to their fathers that, they were good enough. And you'll never get it by making things for this external validation, because you're depending something else to tell you if you're good enough. And Mhm.
I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
The work is to see it within yourself that I am good as I am. I just have to do my best and be happy with that. And it takes all this pressure off, because the amount of energy I was expending for approval or whatever people are, you're always on alert. Your nervous system is always looking for opportunities to validate or to avoid the rejection. And so imagine your nervous system scanning for threats and opportunities 24/7. And as you start to like remove that pressure, like you can live more in peace. And that's the one thing that I've learned is like the optimal goal is being in peace. If you have all the things in the world and you're not at peace, it doesn't matter. You're gonna be living a life of chaos, right? And that's why, Jesus, I've connected back with my initial roots. It's like he would say, "Peace be with you. Go in peace." It's like I don't think it was meaning so much of like don't fight with other people, but be at peace within yourself. Because that is the most important thing. And whether you have $1 million or no dollars in your bank account, if you're at peace, you're gonna be okay.
I love that. I love that. This past year, it brought something up for me. So this past year, it'll be a year at the end of this month is when I quit my sales job, and I'm close to $200,000 a year, which for me was incredible money. Because I was homeless before that. So it's like, man, I was doing really well.
Wow.
In quitting that job, over the last 6 to 9 months, like I really had to analyze myself and really do a lot of reflection, because I started to, I don't want to say I wasn't depressed, but I started realizing that my validation was tied to that success, that monetary success that I was having, because building a business, as you know, in the beginning, you're not making any money, right?
Mhm.
You're putting in the work, you're doing reps, you're doing what you need to do to build it up. And in some ways I was like, well, I'm not bringing anything home. I'm not contributing to the family, like things of that nature. And I had to really step back from that and just realize, hey, as much as I thought I was this spiritual person and this and that, it's like, hey, I have work to do. I'm going to continue to have work to do. And that's probably going to happen again at some point in a different form or fashion. But I'm exactly with you on that subject.
It'll never stop happening. There's always different layers. And it might not be the money thing or questioning. And the big thing that is important is that when we question ourselves, that's a very important part and process, because that's the moment before the transformation. Did I make the right decision? Am I where I'm supposed to be? Like, what is the purpose? Am I doing the right thing? Like all these questions is like question your current self. But we are all looking for growth. And the new us is uncertain. And the ego, the ego mind hates uncertainty. All it wants is survival. This is why like an addict will get stuck there, because they don't know what it's like to not be there or making that move. And the ego's like, okay, we're alive right now. It doesn't matter how crappy the circumstances are, but uncertainty could be death. And it's going to try to convince you however it can to stay where you are.
Yes.
Right. And this is why when we got to make those leaps, like leaving your job, it probably felt like, okay, I'm not feeling good here. I don't know what's going to be there, but I know something has to move. And then you move and you're like, okay, let's go back. So many times in my life where I made a move, and in that 6 months to year after, like, oh, I made a mistake. I wish I'd do anything to go back in time. But I realized those hard times is what actually made the pivots in my life that pushed me in the direction to get me to where I am now. So it was all worth it. There I would have said, yeah, let me go back to where I was. But now it's like, okay, I needed those. It was super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Yeah. I mean, fear of the unknown, I've always said is such a large fear, and people don't realize that, because we're stuck in that familiar. Even if I always say it's like a warm, shitty blanket, even if your current situation stinks, it's still the familiar and the nervous. Okay, at least we know what to expect here. We know what's coming down the pike here.
Right. Exactly.
So we're going to take a quick break from our sponsor. We'll be right back.
What matters most to you? Protecting your family, your home, your car, or planning for the future? State Farm makes it simple to protect what matters most. Agent Michael J. Bader is here in your community to guide you through every step, making sure you get the protection you need without the hassle. Whether it's auto, home, life, or business insurance, Michael J. Bader can help you find the right plan today. Call 520-878-0098 or email michael@baderagency.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey, you found us on your feed. Are you wondering what Live the Dream Media does? I'm going to explain it to you. Let's go. First and foremost, Live the Dream Media is a premier digital advertising and marketing agency.
Hey everybody, it's Chris.
Hey, it's David Samarano.
Hey guys, it's Clint Peak over here.
Hi, I'm Blair Lametti Mathias.
And I'm Summer Smeaton.
Hey, I'm Ron Arenas.
And I'm Will Pena.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Curry.
And I'm Mike Bader.
Hi there, I'm Bruce Ash.
Hi, Ed Wilkinson here.
Hi, this is Bob Elliott.
We are Live the Dream Media. Watch and listen to all of our shows Monday through Friday, only on the Live the Dream Media Network.
All right, guys, welcome back to Sobriety, Spirituality, and Sales. If you're just tuning in, the show's brought to you by Mike Bader, State Farm Agency, First and River Road. If you're looking for insurance, Mike's your guy. He's just an amazing person. The ladies in his office will take great care of you. And if you're tuning in today, you're kind of leaning in and something resonates with you and you know you have an issue with alcohol, if it's running your life and you want to find out who you truly are on the other side of that, reach out to my website below. And Gio, welcome back. Thank you again so much for being here. I know you're a busy guy. We had a little technical difficulties, which seems to be happening weekly at this point. That's the virtual side of it, I guess. But just thrilled to have you here, man. Thrilled to be able to pick your brain a bit and you know, find out really how this whole thing got started, this movement, right? Because you've got clients that are now facilitators all around the globe at this point, right?
Yeah, you know, like I was a serial entrepreneur. Again, I think a lot of that goes back to what I was saying before. Like I realized that I wasn't really, I don't even think I'm a business guy, but there was a sense of approval with making money and being successful in business. But it had a lot of like trying, you know, and what I'm working on now is like being versus trying. It's a very subtle shift where if I can just be myself and try my best to be me and not trying to like do anything out there, things will happen more organically in a way that I probably couldn't plan it. And for this one, that's how it happened. I just started sharing the breath work. I started sharing the experiences and I started seeing like, okay, people started coming, you know, the first shift I had was like, I was like, okay, like when I realized I'd do something different, I said, I want to get into something in wellness. So I opened a studio in just north of Toronto. We had like float tanks and saunas and meditation and ice baths. And it was way too soon in an area that had no idea, like it wasn't like the right area for this. Like, you know, maybe like, I don't know, like a LA or Miami might be better. And the business was struggling. You know, I thought we're going to open, everyone's going to come in because all the stuff that was cool that I found that no one had any idea what it was. And first couple of years were like losing money, you know, and I started doing the breath work. And what happened was like, I could see something happening and people started coming back and a community started forming and it just started having this momentum, which I wasn't trying to make a breathwork company. Like I never thought one day, like I'm going to turn this into a business. I didn't even think it was possible to make money doing breathwork or support myself. And this community starts forming around it. And what actually ends up happening is it starts to support the business because people are coming in to do breath work. They're coming more often. They're making friends. They're building a community around these experiences that we're sharing. And we finally break even. This is like January 2020. You know, February, we're making a little bit of money. And then March, like everything gets shut down. You know, we all know what happened in March 2020, COVID. And I'm just like, God, you know, what's the lesson here? You know, like I worked so hard for the last 3 years, sleepless nights, thinking like, you know, this is going to be a huge failure. Finally turned the corner and now this. And I've learned that, you know, many times in life, we're always trying to look at a situation and determine, is this positive or negative? What does this mean? What is the outcome? And there's a Chinese parable about the Chinese farmer. He's got this one horse, and one day the horse runs off, and the whole town comes in and says, "Oh, what bad luck you have! The gods are against you." And his response is, "We'll see." The next day, the horse comes back, brings two wild horses. Now he's got three horses, and everyone comes in. They're like, "Oh, you have such great luck! The gods shine their favor on you." And he's like, "We'll see." And next couple days, his son's trying to break in the horse. They can use it on the farm. The wild horse kicks him off, breaks his leg. Of course, all the townspeople, they're judgmental. They're trying to figure out, is this guy got good luck or bad luck? And of course, now it's bad again. And he's like, "We'll see." War breaks out a week later, and they come to get all the young men to go to war, and his son can't go because he got a broken leg. And of course, now it's good again. And the moral of the story is we never know, like, the things that happen to us, what the outcome is going to be. And so in this moment, I was just like, I had no idea what was going to happen. And I was just like, okay, let's see what happens. And like that week, all these people are like, "Can you teach us how to do this?" They've been asking me. I was too busy and I didn't even know if I could teach it. And it's okay. Like, we got nothing to do. Just come and I'll figure out how to teach you. I never taught anything before. So I put together this makeshift manual and I think about how I would want to teach if it was me. And I taught it my own way, and they loved it. And it was amazing. And 2 weeks later, they came back for like a final exam. I said, "Go practice with your family and friends and come back in 2 weeks, do like 5 or 6 practice sessions." And they came, and as they shared the stories of sharing breath work with their, one guy shared with his father. He's like, "Thank you." I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "Yeah, me and my father, we cried together for the first time ever. And we shared things that were under the surface our whole life that we never spoke about. And in that space, we were able to open up. And because of that, I've changed my relationship with my dad. And if I never do another breathwork session, like, it was worth it." And countless stories like that. And I get goosebumps now just counting it, because when he said that, I felt it. It was like I was there. I played a small role in that. And from there, I knew, I was like, okay, like, you just got to teach people. When they asked me initially, like, "Can you teach us?" My brain was like, "Wait a minute, you're gonna have all these competitors. You're giving away your thing that's unique. Like, you shouldn't do it. So, okay, let me meditate on it." And like right away, it was like, "Hey, if you want to help people, like, don't overthink it. Just do it. Follow your heart." And that led to the next training, to the next one. And now we have like over 600 facilitators around the world that we've trained. We have an app, and we do like workshops and online courses. I get to speak, and it all came from that. But it was this organic thing that started to grow because there's this intention and energy behind it that felt really good. There's a passion involved. And it wasn't about like, can I scale this to the biggest company? It was like just being super intentional about who I was serving and how I could just serve them the right way. And I learned that when had the studio, about a year in, and I was still losing money, and I had to accept failure. My biggest fear was losing it. I had my house on the line, I had a mortgage at the bank, and it was keeping me up at night to the point where it's like, okay, like, I have to just accept failure as an option. What would happen if I actually failed? And I realized I was actually more afraid of judgment than actual failure. And I knew that if I fail, like, okay, like, my family's still gonna love me. I have people that will support me, even if I gotta sleep on someone's couch till I get back up. Like, I'll be okay. It'll suck, but I'll be okay if I gotta move in with my parents or my in-laws. And in that moment, I was like, okay, like, I could fail, but what can I control? Is I can control how I serve every single person that comes in here. I got to treat them as if I was them when I needed the help. And if I just do that, then I'm doing a good job. And if that day comes where I got to shut this down or lose it all, then I'll accept that. But from now until then, I'm just going to show up and serve everyone in the best way that I can. And that's what carried it. And now I kept that. It's like, okay, like, if I just serve people and really care about them, provide them value, and just really make them feel seen and heard, and that, I have like this real, like, true intention of wanting to help them, then whatever's going to happen next, I'm open. We'll see. And that's what led to the success, I think, of what we do. We have this amazing community and all these people that are now doing that same thing in their hometowns. And, now there's like people leading breathwork in all these other places. Like, wow, like, from following my heart, whoever's guiding me from up above, is there's a purpose for me to do this stuff, and it feels good. And I also know that a lot of times when people go on the spiritual path, they feel like, oh, like, making money is not good. Like, money and spirituality, they don't mix, which I don't think is true. Money is a form of energy. It's what you do with the money that's most important. It's how you use that energy. Yes, you can make your life more comfortable. Sure, like, that's good, that's important. Can you use it to help others? Can you reinvest in your business? Or are you trying to extract every penny to win all the time? Like, that was me before. Transactional. Every deal was like, how do we win? Someone's going to lose. How do we make more? Now it's like, okay, how do I serve in the best way, and just be open to receiving? If that makes sense.
That's that switch from that lack mindset to that abundance mindset, right? And I mean, the Bible's not shy about abundance. I mean, abundance doesn't have to be a monetary thing. It can be abundance of family, of joy in your life, of so many different things.
Yeah, experiences, love, like all the things. And I'm fortunate that now I'm kind of experienced a lot of that. I get to travel and I get to share and I get to, have all these experiences, but it wasn't always like that. There's a lot of ups and downs along the way, but I think every single up and down for me, whether it's in business and life, it's part of a spiritual journey. Some of them are tests, some of them are helping you to kind of like see, hey, you're going the wrong direction. Those moments of like despair is like actually where you're like, okay, like I'm at this bottom. There's no way out. And there's many times where I put myself in a situation I couldn't get out of, but it was important because if I was just able to get my way out of it just barely or being enabled to do something, I would just keep where I was until the point where like I couldn't anymore. And then I had to really get clear with myself, like accepting failure or, choosing a different path. But it was something that switched inside of me. I look back, I was like, okay, like there was someone that was guiding me through this experience. It had to happen that way. It was important for me, and where we suffer is when we get stuck there and we don't allow ourselves to see that there is something in here. And every hard experience is always a silver lining. I'm sure you can attest to that as well from your own experiences, the transformation you've gone through. And most people I talk to, when they really sit and look at it, like, okay, like I see how that was important. And one other thing that I've learned too, and might be important for people, is that as a very like analytical person, I would always analyze the things that happen and then the outcome after, and how like, okay, like that, caused me to, end this relationship or close that business or have this failure. And then all these amazing things happen after. It taught me resilience, taught me how to like not give up, taught me how to like support myself. And, in different breathwork experiences or things, like sometimes I'll go back to those experiences and I'm like, why are we here again? Why does this keep coming up? And what I learned is that we have to bring ourselves from that moment, the compassion, the forgiveness, the acceptance of like, it's okay that that happened, because although our mind has justified the reasoning of why it happened, our nervous system and our emotional body is in our subconscious mind, that those feelings are still trapped there from what happened. And so we got to go there and just be kind to ourselves and just have compassion for that version of me that went through that and say, hey, like in a meditation or in a breath work, or even just like thinking about that version of yourself and just giving that love and compassion. It's like, okay, you know, thank you for being able to go through this. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I forgive you for the things you did during that time. And like just really having that compassion for yourself is really, really important tool for healing and transformation.
Yeah, yeah, and I love that with your guided meditation, and I was drawn to it immediately with all the BS that I've been through in my life. 10 to 12 years of throwing my life away. It's like I within an hour's time in Guatemala, you see people have this spiritual experience, out of body experience, transformational experience, and I thought, again, I shared this last night in one of my posts on Instagram. It's like, if I had this tool, would I have changed then? I don't know. That doesn't really matter. But it's the point of like having this availability to people, and also people that maybe don't want to do a plant medicine journey, but they can get the kind of depth out of it
Mhm.
that it provides, right? The kind of insight that it can provide for your life, where you've been at, where you're going. The forgiveness piece, I think we're the hardest people on ourselves, and so that positive self-talk, people are not used to that. Having compassion for yourself, I think that's a great point as well.
Yeah, and a lot of people get the transformation without having need the plant medicine. I've had so many people that have also went the plant medicine route and said that the breath work actually helped me more than the plant medicine. And it's different for everyone, but it starts with, just having the courage to try and to go and to see what happens, and it doesn't always happen overnight. Sometimes it happens in one session where you have this breakthrough, and there's thousands of layers to it. Sometimes it's just a little bit of an opening before you're ready to go to that next layer deeper. Right. And everyone's just got to really just find a way to trust themselves and follow their intuition, because inside of you there's something that's trying to guide you, and a lot of times we've put a lot of layers on top of that to protect ourselves from all the things that have happened. But deep underneath all the layers, there is a beautiful heart full of love that wants to be loved, that wants to give love. And it's a journey to get there. They say the longest journey is from the head to the heart. But it just starts with like a step or a single breath, or just starting to have the intention of, I want to get better. I want to do something a little bit better. And yeah, the journey goes up and down and back and forth. And sometimes you feel like you're going backwards, but it's just that, okay, like made a mistake. Let me just take that next step forward again. Like that's it. Like, not to beat yourself up for the mistakes you've made, but to know that from today, I'm just going to try again. And you're right. Like, I wish I had it 10 years ago, but my whole journey would have been different. And another Chinese proverb says, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Okay, so you didn't plant it 20 years ago, go with today, and just do it.
I love that. So, what really struck me is being the best cannoli salesman, having the things, and I've heard this is a consistent theme, is I got that next bonus, I got that car, that bigger house, the upgrade, right? And it sufficed for a few weeks. And then after that, it was like, what's next? Right. And it sounds like that was also a time in your life when you said you were kind of partying a little heavier than you should have. And was it American football or European football that you were watching, brother?
American football every Sunday. It was this thing. I'm still the fantasy football commissioner to this day for our fantasy league, but I love the being in touch with my friends like that. There was a community around the fantasy football that I loved, which, I didn't have when I was gambling and doing all this stuff by myself and just, all the craziness. And I still like sports, you know what I mean? Like I didn't leave that. Like to be spiritual doesn't mean you have to leave everything behind and like go live on a mountain. Like spirituality is an individual. Everyone can find their own way to connect with whatever they believe in, whether it's God, nature, Buddha, But what I think really is important is how you show up when no one's watching. How do you show up to yourself? How do you treat those that have less than you? How do you make decisions when no one's going to see what you did? And that's only between you and God, and that's the compass that I try to be. It's not like, hey, I believe in this and I'll be a bad person all week and then I'll go pray on Sunday and like everything is forgiven. It's like, okay, like if that's what you believe, fine. But I think it's like your character, your integrity, all the little things are what's most important, and just trying your best to be better every day. That's it.
Absolutely. And, to me, spirituality, I resonate with that highly because to me, it's my personal journey. It wasn't given to me by my folks. It wasn't given to me by the church. It's what I choose to invest in my energy in. Right. And so the reason that I brought up, your earlier years when you were kind of in this funk, it's like, hey, what advice do you have for the men? Because I feel like this is more specific to men. How do you because this is my experience. How do I get from here to hear more? How do I overcome some of these challenges that I'm dealing with in my life currently where I don't see a way out of, where I'm in my egoic mind, where, I'm in a state of too much fear and of lack, and I don't have this abundance mindset. Like, what's the key to getting out of this?
Yeah, I would say there's two things. So one is like a daily practice of starting to create space. Now, what I mean by that is when we're in fight or flight, when we're just like everything's going, we become very reactive and responsive to everything. There's so many inputs, the stock market, media, war, friends, family, work, and we never have a time to really sit back and contemplate like, what do I actually want in my life? Where do I want to be in a year or two from now? Not how am I going to get there? Not what are all the steps, because it might be daunting to get out from here, but it's just like, what is that state that I actually want to be in? And if you don't create the space to start feeling into that, you're never going to get there, because what you're going to be do is keep responding to all the negative things in your life. Now you look for more of that, because your nervous system, once your thoughts start thinking about fear and negativity, it just looks for more and more of that. So it's just taking like 5 minutes to breathe and start a practice, and just creates a little bit of space. If your mind can shut off for 1 second to start, that's more than it was before. And once you start creating that space, now you're going to be less reactive, and you're going to be able to see an opportunity that you never saw before. You're going to see a possibility that you couldn't possibly see before, because they're there. In everyone's life, there is, I think, an equal amount of negative possibilities and positive. But if we're focusing on the negative, we're just going to see the negative. So once you start really creating a little bit of space, start thinking about like, okay, what would I actually like my life to be? How would I actually like to feel on a daily basis? Not what does it look like, how many cars I'm gonna have, how much money. Start thinking about the feeling and what that space could feel like, a little bit of peace in my life. Okay, you start making an opening. And from that opening, you can build momentum. And then you never know when that person is going to come into your life is going to change your life, or that opportunity is going to come that you don't know. The things you don't know yet, they're there and they can come. But if you don't create that space, you're not going to see it. So it's just having the discipline to start a daily practice. And at first, it's going to feel hard. Your mind's not going to be able to shut off, but it's just you saying that 5 minutes a day, whether it's breath work, a meditation, a walk in the park, where you can just start trying to slow down your thoughts, because your thoughts is the separation. Your thoughts is like, we don't live in our mind. We think we're our thoughts, but we're not our thoughts. It's all the things that have happened. We replay them. We worry about the future. We ruminate about the past. So starting to create some space and starting to like allow our nervous system to regulate a little bit, because if we're dysregulated, we're fight or flight, we're going to be in that kind of mode all the time. So we want to have a little peace. Just by slowing down your breathing, your thoughts will stop. Your breath and your heart rate and your thought patterns are all connected. So if you breathe shallow and fast and fight or flight, you're gonna be agitated all the time. So just start to create a little bit. You can do it once a day, twice a day. But if you can commit to like 30 days of a practice, like you'll notice in 30 days from now, you're gonna feel very different. Like if you can do 30 days, it's not easy. 30 days of a simple practice, twice a day, even better. So it's that's something you can control. It might be hard, but the second piece to it is having a community or having a mentor or having someone that can help support you, hold you accountable. And for a lot of men, it's like we're like creatures of like, like tribes and hunters and, part of a community for many thousands of years. And now we're so isolated. We have no one to talk to. We feel like we're alone on the mountain and we have to take care of our family and that's it. There's no one we can depend on. So for me is when I started like hanging out with other guys that had, were doing the work, who are positive, who were coming. I know there's a lot of like groups that do that in the sobriety, but like joining a men's group, joining a sports team with with the right kind of like positive mindset, finding a mentor or a coach or someone that can help you a little bit, just be there for support. Like being in isolation alone is the hardest thing, and that creates a lot of problems internally, feeling just that loneliness. So it's trying to find some sort of support group with other men, for men specifically, we're talking men. Even for women, there's women's circles, women's groups. Find one that you resonate with. And at first, it's going to be scary. And you're going to probably feel like an imposter or like you stand out like a sore thumb. But all these groups are going to welcome you with open arms, And for me, being part of a community was huge, like breaking free from when I was in that. And I had a wrong community. But when I started finding the right communities, like the community that were reinforcing the old habits, I had to kind of like step away from that. Still friends with them, like, like cutting them off. But it's like, hey, I started creating space there. As I started changing, we had less that we resonated with. So they created more space because like, I wasn't who they thought I was anymore. And I started, finding the people that was like, okay, like this is a good role model for me. Here's some guys that are doing good things. And the more I was around that energy, things started shifting. And what ended up happening was the guys from the old friends started looking to me for answers. They wanted help actually. At first they were like, yeah, Gio is mine. I don't know what's wrong with him, what's gotten into him. He's hugging trees and all this like
around.
and this was yeah, that was it. Those are two things. You got to create some space for yourself, have a little bit of discipline, which I know is gonna be hard, but then like finding the support around you, the right influences, the right kind of community. And even if it's other people that are just trying to improve themselves as well, and sometimes we would just watch like YouTube videos together and go hang out and just talk about these things and being able to express myself. And what you'll realize for any men listening is there's more people that are feeling the things that you're feeling that you're afraid to express than you believe. People have that as well and they're afraid to. And once you start sharing a little bit, you realize I'm not alone. A lot of people are feeling this exact same thing, or going through the same things, whether it's with substances or whatever. And there's so many ways, and what the substances do and the addictions, whether it's porn, whether it's alcohol, drugs, working out, overworking a job, you're avoiding sitting with yourself and your feelings. It's a distraction. I don't want to feel, I don't want to think about these things. I'm going to do something that's going to distract me from it. Right. But that's where that space starts coming in. That's where the healing happens. And, this one saying like the cave you fear to enter holds a treasure you seek. It's like, if you really want to transform, you're gonna have to go into those places that you're really afraid of. But on the other side is the transformation. It doesn't mean to rush into them, to go at your own pace, but you got to explore like that inner part of you that you're withdrawing from or you're avoiding. And there's lots of help out there. And sometimes you need professional help or, a coach or a counselor or therapist, like all that's good. Don't be afraid to ask for help. But if you're willing to kind of do the work and put yourself out there, like I've seen the most incredible transformations from like rock bottom to like just complete transformation. So it's possible for anyone. It's up to you to choose,
Absolutely. So how can people support you? How can they get in touch with you? What are some events you have coming up? Like what's new in your world right now that you'd like to let folks know about?
Yeah, the main thing is go on our website. We have free memberships with breathwork. You can get our app. We have some free stuff on Spotify, Elemental Rhythm, just to get started doing the breathwork. Once you're on the email list, we really notify people about events. Summer, I'm just doing like a lot of festivals. Like I'll do one-off things. We're gonna do a retreat in the new year. But once you're on the email list, we'll keep you notified about all the things that are upcoming. But we have a lot of resources online. So you can start right now today at home doing breathwork. Go on the website. You can get the app. there's a free version of it. You can go on our Spotify, start doing some breath work, but just like do breath work for at least 5 minutes every day. Just start there. And in 30 days, you're going to feel a difference. And I'm on Instagram as well, Elemental Geo. You can message me on there. But yeah, just get on the website, get on the app, start. And we have a lot of free stuff for everyone that's interested and want to learn more about breath work.
Yeah, thank you, Gio, so much. And I think it's incredible. I've already turned my brother on to the Spotify. I'm like, hey, there's some free stuff out there. So again, just that abundance mindset. Like you love helping and serving people, and it's coming back around for you in a huge way. And I see you all over my socials. I love what you're doing. I'm so glad I pulled the trigger because we
Me
had that
too.
in the fall or excuse me, in the spring. And so I'm glad that I'm here. I'm so grateful for your time today. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks. Been a pleasure. Thanks everyone listening. Hopefully something lands that you find helpful. And again, reach out if you guys have any questions, need any support. I'm here for you guys.
Right on, man. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. Okay,
Bye.
you too.